The fact that he was so openly angry in the octagon, he wanted Izzy to know.
Only Israel knows what's going on. I'm very curious to see what he says at this press conference tonight.
With the Strickland thing, the other thing that I wanted to say about what Strickland did, which is so incredible, is this. If you've never been to a live event where Izzy fights, okay, you can't understand how big of a star he is. He sucks all of the energy out of the room. He comes in like, and you just look, you're like, wow. I've talked about this before, dude. Like, he has an aura. It looked like he was glowing. You know, like the first one, when I saw him at 271 and he came out against Whitaker, I said to Gabrielle, I was like, dude, is it just me, or like, it just felt like all of a sudden there was a spotlight on Izzy and you can't see anything else. And I was saying, I'm like, I don't know if Gabrielle's even listening to this, but I was like, I can see exactly why judges will lean towards a guy like Izzy and maybe John Jones, guys like that, because you're like, they're so magnetic. They're such huge stars that they just are bigger. They're just bigger than everything else. Sean Strickland had fought in the Apex 4 of his last 5 fights, and the only fight where he fought in a big stadium was the Pereira fight where he got starched. Think about that. Think about that when it comes to him going into this fight. When he was walking out, he looked like a deer in headlights to me, right? And you could hear it. DC said it. They were like, he looks like a guy who's fighting for the title for the first time, and Izzy looks like a vet. And I don't think that they were wrong. I think that's exactly what he looked like. And it took him being in there, throwing kicks, throwing punches, slipping, to remember he's just a man. He's just a man. I've survived this long. I can beat this guy. And then obviously when he knocked him down, that really changes things. Going into an environment like that in Izzy's hometown. Now, Strickland had a lot of support, which was good, but he overcame God, dude, think about that. He is a guy who is used to sparring all day, every day at Extreme Couture. Spars a million times. There's a million rounds a week. And then he fights at the Apex, which is basically just like Extreme Couture. It's not that much different. You know, there's a handful of people there watching. It's like a crowded day at Extreme Couture times 3. You know what I mean? He walks into a sold-out arena in Australia on a Sunday afternoon to fight Israel Adesanya, who comes out and sucks all the air out of the whole place. And he still won definitively. It's incredible, dude. Incredible. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Eric Nixick. That snake charmer thing in the between round 2 and round 3 was absolutely incredible. And that's what it is, man. That's what it is. And I'll just say this one more time. I said this in my previous video, but I just will say it again. Izzy's never gotten beat like this before. Izzy has never been beat like this before. When he lost to Pereira, all 3 in kickboxing and in MMA, he was winning all 3 fights. Okay? The decision, the first one, probably should have been his. The other 2, he was winning all the way up to the end, and then he got clipped, right? Then he comes back and he beats him. Jan Blachowicz took him down, and he's fighting up at 205. He's never gotten beat like this. Sean Strickland broke him. At the end of the fight, Strickland's screaming in his face. He's screaming in his face, and Izzy has no answers. This is a completely different type of loss. This is different for Izzy. How he responds, how he comes back in the rematch is going to be the defining thing for the rest of his career. If he comes back and Sean beats him again like this, you know what I mean? And think about what Izzy's done to all the other guys in this division. He's dismantled them. He's dismantled every other guy. And it's highly possible that he was looking past Strickland. Very possible. But we'll see. So if you're in my seat, you need to make every story sound as dramatic as possible. But when I tell you that this is a fact, that Dana White is more upset right now than he has been after any UFC title fight, except for probably the Francis and Cyril Gane fight, I don't think that's an exaggeration. He is furious. The UFC brass is furious. The shareholders in UFC are furious. Dana is going to have to answer to them. This is not a small thing that happened last night. Now, you know who my shareholders are? You guys. And I would appreciate it if you're going to be a shareholder of my channel, if you would subscribe. That's all I ask. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. The only analytic that I really pay attention to is the subscriber base. I would appreciate it if you would click subscribe. Thank you. Dana is the CEO. No one breaks his balls, but he answers to shareholders. He is a shareholder. And last night was a big, big hit if you are a UFC shareholder in business, if you're a partner of the UFC, any of this stuff. It's like, this is not a small thing that happened last night. And Israel Adesanya gave his word that this would not happen, and it did. And I'm going to show you all this. I'm going to show you Dana's press conference.
Only Israel knows what's going on. I'm very curious to see what he says at this press conference tonight.
When Dana's emotional, if you can read between the lines, he will say what he's thinking. Like when he put the belt on Strickland, his face was so not, I mean, he was just, I've never seen him, he wasn't even trying to pretend like he wasn't furious. He was mad. He wanted Izzy to know it. I think that's what it was. The fact that he was so openly angry in the octagon, I believe, is because he wanted Izzy to know how mad he was, because he did not want to make this fight, and Izzy talked him into it. Now, a super quick break for a 40-second announcement. Aaron Johnson won the Jordans this last month. He got some sick-ass Jordans on the way. If you want to enter buying Sheath underwear, if you want to participate in this month's Jordans giveaway, all you have to do is go to sheathunderwear.com. Buy anything off of the website, use promo code FIRE, send a receipt to realjesseonfire@gmail. Make sure that I can see the date on it, and you are entered to win this month's J's. I just do it like this because bottom line, it's like, dude, I know you're going to like the underwear. So like the Sheath underwear is the bomb. I give away Jordans once a month. You guys will love it. Aaron Johnson, congratulations, good sir. Come train with us at Six Blades in Austin. You'll love it. UFC don't want him embarrassing the company. Israel Adesanya reveals how it took convincing to book Sean Strickland fight. This is quoting Israel Adesanya. A lot of convincing. A lot. Like I said, he's an idiot, and the UFC don't want him embarrassing the company. That's all I'll say about that, but he should thank me. He should really thank me for actually making him get the fight. I pushed for it, and I'm glad the UFC trusted me and listened to me. And look at what happened. Look at what happened. Because that's, if you're wondering why Dana looked like he looked, that's why. Izzy guaranteed victory. When you look at Dana's press conference, okay, does this sound like Dana's giving credit to Sean Strickland, or that he is making crystal clear that he is furious at Israel Adesanya?
Israel looked like he was in slow motion. He looked like he couldn't get off. He looked like he was really stiff tonight. He looked very slow.
Do you think that could be, we always talk about his activity, but maybe there's something to be said that he might be overtrained at this point and maybe needs some time off? Or do you think it's just, hey, sometimes you have a bad night?
Only Israel knows what's going on. I'm very curious to see what he says at this press conference tonight. There are a million things that could go wrong. Some days you wake up and it's just not there, man. You just don't, it's not there. He looked bone dry when he came out tonight. Standing up really tall, looked very slow, looked like he couldn't get off at all. Even in the fifth round, when everybody knew he needed a knockout to win the fight, there was no sense of urgency to try to finish the fight. So I don't know if he's hurt, if he's, or he just, tonight's that night.
Yeah. Did you speak to him in the...
See, like, to me, actually not just to me, that is objectively, Dana telling you that he is pissed at Izzy. Okay. Now, in how many of these fights have we watched? 1 billion. We've seen 1 billion of these fights, right? When does Dana ever, like, I don't know. I mean, that's not true. He does do that sometimes, but not really like that. Like, this was directed. I didn't see that. Like, I don't know. I'm seriously actually asking, did you guys think that Izzy looked slow or what, because to me, he didn't. I honestly, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Like, that's not what I saw. I just saw Sean Strickland beat him. And it's not just about, Sean Strickland's going to embarrass the company. Because I actually I think that Sean Strickland is way different than he is portraying. Okay. And I was open with the fact that, like, when he was on Rogan, I was like, geez, man. I'm like, he's like a 13-year-old juvenile delinquent in a 30-year-old man's body. Like, but watching him this week, like really kind of paying much closer attention to him, I think this is way more of an act than I was giving it credit for. Like, I know he's wild. I mean, obviously, like, I'm buddies with a bunch of guys at Extreme Couture. For the 100th time, Chris Curtis, I'm sorry, okay? I don't know what I did. I'm sorry, Chris Curtis. I'm friends with everyone at Extreme Couture except Chris Curtis, who hates me, and I don't know why. I love him. He hates me. I don't understand Chris Curtis. Gosh. I'm going to send him a gift, dude. I'm going to send him a gift. Chris Curtis, do you like airsoft? I'll send you this airsoft gun. Then we'll be cool, right? You can shoot Strickland with it. I bet you he'll love it, dude. But like, wait, how did I even get on that topic? Oh, right. So, like, I know a lot of people, they're like, Strickland is wild, but you can see that there's more there. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's more there. Like, when people ask him about, your girl, he's like, dude, I'm a softie underneath. I'm a softie, dude. I don't know. I can, like, read between the lines. It's like, he's a good dude. Like, he's actually a good dude. He's trying to play the part of the, like, the total, piece of shit. But he's like, I don't think that's really what he is. And I actually think that he's going to surprise the UFC in terms of his ability to be presidential now that he has the title. Because I don't think he's going to lose. I don't think he's going to lose the rematch. I don't think he's going to lose the rematch. And I don't say that as anything negative towards Izzy. Izzy's an incredible champion. It's just that Sean seemed to have Izzy kryptonite last night, which is an impenetrable defensive Philly shell, MMA game. You know what I mean? He just walk you down. And he has absolutely endless cardio. It's honestly, you want to know what he looks like to me now? Everyone who always said, like, imagine if Nate Diaz had, like, he was a real power threat. Sean Strickland is just like that, right? Not because he has a huge chin, but because he's impossible to hit, which is even worse. Because then he's not only standing in front of you and walking you down, but he's not slowing down at all. You hit Nate enough, Nate will get a little bit tired. Nate can slow down a little bit. But honestly, Nate's never really throwing heat anyway. But, like, Sean Strickland is like a more refined version of it. That's the puzzle to solve, is he's just going to walk me down for 5 straight rounds and he's nearly impossible to hit. So I think personally that in that role, I think he's going to surprise people. I think he'll hold it together better than people anticipate. It is a different ball game once you get that belt around your waist. And whether, I mean, you like, a person would have to really be like an actual, retard to have the belt and still be saying really outlandish stuff. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to act like he did at the press conference, right? At the 293 pre-fight press conference, that's how I expect Strickland to behave, which is loud. It seems like it's the same guy, but if you really listen, he's going to stay away from the really, really outlandish stuff. I really believe that. I really do. So, congratulations to him, man. Again, it's amazing, dude. I saw Sean Strickland present a puzzle that Izzy couldn't solve, which seems ridiculous when you think about it because of the complexity of Izzy's arsenal and the simplicity of Sean's. But, dude, Sean is exceptional at what he does. It's so simple. He just got, black belt level at not getting hit. And then just throwing a really solid 1-2 down the middle. Like, that's his whole game. Push kick. Every punch he has is basically a straight punch, I mean, he could throw it looping a little bit, but for, 1-2 down the middle, push kick, Philly shell, don't get hit. Simple. Super simple. And just practice it into the ground. The guy loves sparring. He loves sparring. I don't think it's that common how much Sean genuinely loves to train and spar. And so he's gotten so good at just absolutely endless hours of practice. Endless. He spars more than anyone because he loves it. And he's gotten, black belt level defense. And that's a simple puzzle to solve, except it's not if he's that good at it. You know what I mean? But it's just amazing. It's amazing what he did last night. So a lot of convincing. Like we said, Izzy, a lot of convincing, right? And then we just saw Dana really lay it on thick about how unhappy he is in this outcome for understandable reason. And then, so again, now let's go back to we're reading between the lines. What is Dana saying? He says he absolutely wants an immediate rematch between Strickland and Israel Adesanya. It's interesting. Yeah, of course he wants a rematch because he did not, this outcome is unacceptable, right? And then if you really want to know what he's thinking, he brings this up. Did Dana White fire shots at Dricus du Plessis for turning down the title fight with Israel Adesanya? Yes, he did. 100% he did. Because he said, I guess what we see here is don't turn down fights. Don't ever turn down fights. We give you a fight, you take the fight. So, again, when you have someone like Dana who's in a position like Dana and they can say whatever they want, they will always reveal to you what's in their head. Now, this was not rocket science. The reason that Dana did not want to make this fight, okay, simple as anything, is because the Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya fight was a barn burner, enormous pay-per-view, okay? When you get a narrative like that, okay, like when you get a story like that, it is a bird in hand. You don't get that opportunity very often at all, where you have a superstar like Israel Adesanya and a genuine beef between two people, a narrative that everyone can understand, a simple story that every person who is a fan can understand, okay? And that was, he says that he'll be the first African champion. Izzy takes it, and Izzy plays the race card on him. Dricus is trying to avoid that, but he won't back down. It's like the whole world can understand that. There is no more visceral, there's no more visceral conflict on planet Earth than if you get a race or ethnicity or that kind of thing in the mix. And Izzy created that for the Dricus fight, and everyone was going to understand it, and it was going to be an absolutely enormous event. Dana, Hunter, the reason that we always know what they're trying to do is because we know they're always trying to drive towards that outcome. That's why Colby got 2 shots at Kamaru after Masvidal got 2 shots at Kamaru, because they were trying to set up that grudge match for a belt. Kamaru beat him 4 times combined. They couldn't get it done, so then they finally made the fight, right? They canceled the Leon Edwards fight after Colby lost the rematch, because then they're like, okay, there's no point in having Masvidal fight Leon now, because he's not going to get a title shot anyway, so let's just cancel that fight and we'll have him fight Colby. Like, we know what's going on behind the scenes. And they had a bird in hand, and all they needed to do is just wait until Dricus was healthy. That's it. That was the next fight. They had already sold it. Everyone's on board, right? They had the bird in hand. That's why, okay, that is why this UFC, it took a lot of convincing. He should really thank me for making this fight. I pushed for it, and I'm glad the UFC trusted me and listened to me. Okay? Trusted me and listened to me. He guaranteed a victory. He guaranteed a victory. And Dana trusted him. And he went in there and he got beat down. It's not just that you now can't do the Israel. I mean, first of all, the biggest thing is now you can't do Izzy and Dricus. And that's why when Dana says, I guess this shows don't turn down title fights, that's what's in his brain. Crystal clear. That's what's in his brain. It's the Dricus and Izzy fight, right? Because, like, don't turn down title fights. What does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? It has everything to do with it. But that, like, the only reason it's relevant to the conversation last night is because he's thinking about the fight that they lost. Because, listen, dude. He can say, he could say it's because Dricus didn't take the fight, but it's because they gave the fight to Strickland instead, trusting Israel Adesanya. So, again, dude, if I don't think I'm overstating it when I say that this was very, like, look at this, dude.
He looked like he couldn't get off. He looked like he was really stiff tonight. He looked very slow. Only Israel knows what's going on. I'm very curious to see what he says at this press conference tonight.
Listen to that. Listen to his tone right there, dude. Okay? He trusted Izzy, and Izzy did not come through. Okay? He has to go to the shareholders and explain to them how and why they just lost what would have been potentially the biggest pay-per-view of the year, right? And who knows, maybe a trilogy if Drickus somehow pulled it up. Like, this outcome cost the UFC a lot of money, dude. A lot of money. So, that's what it is, dude. That's what it is. And I guarantee you what just happened last night is the UFC is going to be way more apprehensive about putting faith in UFC champions. Because if Izzy can't be counted on to beat Sean Strickland in a I guarantee you, a victory situation, then who can? And I'm not saying that as a shot to Izzy. I'm saying Strickland beat him handily. But if you're the UFC and you're like, okay, like, you have to know that UFC thought it was impossible that this would be the outcome. And Izzy convinced them of that. Right? And so now anybody in the future that's like, dude, just trust me, book this fight. He can't beat me. They're not going to do it again. They're not going to do it again. This is a big deal. From a business standpoint, this is a big deal. There's a lot of missed revenue. The fight business is all about the big pops each year, okay? Their annual number just took a massive hit because of this. That's why he's so pissed.